Hey guys, in this YouTube video, we're going to walk you through this install that we are just finishing up here at Heatherwood Baptist Church in Noonan, Georgia. We installed acoustic treatment solutions. We installed some cloud panels by Primacoustic, 40 cloud panels.
40 of them.
And then we installed the Telescape acoustic treatment along the back of the stage. We're going to share some tips and tricks for you guys if you decide to go with these solutions at your church. Definitely watch this video because it will hopefully save you a ton of time throughout this process, and it's going to be in a fantastic way to address acoustical issues at your church. So let's head on in.
When we moved into this space, it was originally built just to be an acoustic room. And so when we were fortunate enough to be able to update and upgrade some things a few years ago, we ended up putting a ton of additional sound and energy with the new speakers and amplifiers and everything, which was fantastic. We were all super excited about, but almost immediately we started having problems and nobody really knew what to do. You know, we had a new soundboard, we had a new amplifier, we had a lot of power, we had very expensive, very nice speakers, and you know, none of us, we were all scratching our heads. Why is this not sounding better than it does? We've got all these acoustic panels all over the room, and the room is echoing like crazy, and we've got all this reverb, just natural reverb, 14, 16 seconds of natural reverb in a room that has sound panels everywhere, and feedback from every open mic in the room, no matter where it was, what direction it was facing. And then, you know, one of the worst spots in the entire room was right up there center stage, where our worship leader is singing and playing, where our pastor is speaking. And so it just really was frustrating, and it wasn't enjoyable. We were constantly just chasing problems. And so fast forward to the end of 2023, and we reach out to Churchfront, and we agree to, you know, work with them and their Accelerator program, and right away, you know, we start identifying some of our issues, having some of their conversations about what our goals are, how we want to improve the space, what our challenges are, what are our top 5 goals. And you know, the process was really, really enjoyable, but also very eye-opening. And I'll tell you, it got a little scary as well. One of my roles here at the church is on the finance team, and so as we're reviewing the cost to make some of these improvements, one of the questions we're having is, you know, we've been struggling in this space so long, is this really going to work? Are we putting our money in the right place? I can tell you now that we've done it 100% yes. And, you know, now having a Sunday under our belt with the acoustic treatment and hearing the room and listening to the virtual sound check afterwards and playing around with some settings, I can tell you that this is a totally different room now. We can push more energy into the room and we can control it. We don't have open mic channels that are problems anymore. We can hear the room now for the first time in a very accurate, and a very relatable way. You know, when the pastor's up speaking and giving his sermon on this past Sunday, some of the feedback we got from some of the older church members was that for the first time they could hear him clearly. And I can say from my perspective, he was much more intelligible. You could definitely hear the speech much more clearly throughout the room.
And walking into this lobby, this is a good demo for you guys. I don't know how well you can hear on the phone audio, but this is kind of what it sounds like also in the sanctuary. The building kind of has this octagon shaped vibe going with these like multiple layers. So audio is just like bouncing around everywhere up there. So we were able to install panels in their worship center here on the various levels of the ceiling, and the intelligibility is going to just increase significantly in the room. I can tell instantly now when I'm walking in here the difference of the reverb time has dropped dramatically. It's closer to that about 2-second range that you want to go for, because you don't want it to be completely dead in here. You still want the room to have life for the congregation to hear themselves singing. But you want it to be short enough so that when the pastor's preaching, especially people here in the back row, are able to have high intelligibility. They can hear and understand what is being said or sung from the platform. So here are the telescapes along the back of the stage here, and they blend right in with the black wall. We're just finishing up. You can see Mitch installing the final pieces of fabric there. And then here are the 40 cloud panels all along the ceiling. I really enjoyed the process of laying out these cloud panels, it is kind of both a science and an art, and you try to do it in a way I think that complements the existing structure of the building while also achieving your goals of coverage, because you just want to cover as much area as you can to achieve the acoustical goals that you're going for. So what Mitch did here, Mitch from Primacoustic, is we send him data on the room, pictures and measurements of the room size, and also he takes into account the various surfaces in the room, and there he's able to calculate the RT60 measurements, which basically is a fancy way of saying the reverb time. Basically, RT60 means that the time it takes for the sound to decrease by 60 decibels in the room. So this is the panel itself. This is the paintable cloud panel, and you do want to be gentle with it as you're handling it, because you can easily leave a mark or smudges on the paintable panel here. And if you ever do want to paint these panels, it's going to be a very light spray paint, and you're not going to use like rollers or anything like that. But chat with us, chat with your Primacoustic rep who can answer all your questions about that process. You'll see on the back side of the panels, we have the anchors. They are mounted 4 inches this way and 4 inches this way in the panel, and they just screw in there. You can use your hands to screw in the anchors, goes in very easily. Perhaps the most helpful tip I can give you is to use a template like this. This is just MDF board, and what we did is we actually measured out the holes at all the appropriate distances that we would use to not only mark our anchors on the back of the panel, but also to mark the spots on the ceiling where we're going to be putting in anchors and putting in the eye bolts and putting in the suspension cable. What's also nice about this 2-foot by 4-foot board is it actually becomes just a really useful measuring and leveling tool when you're up there on the ceiling and you're just trying to make your measurements for the panel for, okay, how far away from the wall do I want to put the panel? Let's do it 2 feet. So then we can just use this as our measuring device and leveling device to make the marks of where the panel's going to be placed. So one thing I would do is actually I'd even get maybe a few more pieces of this, maybe even get like a 1x1 piece, or maybe a 1x2 would be helpful, or maybe a 1x4. It would really come in handy, especially if for the design aspect of it and where you're putting the panels. You're kind of making it up as you go along. We did do a plan ahead of time, but as we get up there, we're kind of working around lighting fixtures and smoke alarms or smoke detectors. We want to stay away from those things. This process is kind of both a science and an art, and you have to take into account interior design and what it's going to look like. So having a tool like this is going to be very handy for marking out where the panels are going to go and getting those anchors in the right spot. Another challenge we ran into with this particular ceiling is that there's lots of metal studs everywhere, and sometimes we're able to drill the pilot holes for our anchors, and it's just into the drywall. We put our anchors in, it worked great. But we were using a stud finder. In a lot of places we found metal, even when the stud finder didn't really give us a appropriate warning about the metal. We drilled in and the metal was there, and that wasn't going to work out. So what we did is we used our handy template again, and we actually just made some 8x4 offset holes here, and then over here we actually have some 9x4 offset holes that give us different options if we have to work around studs. So then we actually put this back here on the panel, and we moved our anchors on the panel from the basic 4x4 position to the 9x4, and then we would use the same hole here as a guide for marking out the anchor on the ceiling. So as you can see, we just mounted the cloud panel, and even though the anchor points are offset, as long as it's square with your eye bolts on the ceiling, you're good to go. Nice and level, looks great. So just another quick tip in order to just navigate whatever studs you're trying to work around with your install. I would say if you're trying to estimate the time it takes to install these at your church, for us, I think once we get the system up and running smoothly, you can average about maybe 20 to 30 minutes per panel, because of course you got to go up and down on the lift a lot if you don't have a large lift, and you really can't be stacking these panels on top of one another on the lift itself. You got to have one person holding the panel, one person running the lift, and then the both of you are going to be mounting them on the ceiling. But I do want to let you guys know, like, this is something that's very doable if you know how to use a measuring tape and do some basic arithmetic, or ask Siri some basic arithmetic. It's pretty easy to figure out how to place these panels and to make it look good, and most importantly, sound good. You got a ruler, really handy for measurements. Also a measuring tape, handy for measurements. We've got a pencil to be able to mark spots for anchors and such. These pliers, they can cut your cables, as well as they're really great for using them to clamp onto the eye bolts, to screw in the eye bolts into the anchors, so you're not going to beat up your fingers. A hammer, you're going to need a hammer for hammering in the anchors. And then you'll want a level to make sure your panels are nice and level. And another trick we used was using the speed square here. We'll put it up here. And this was basically our reference tool for like measuring the distance and pulling our cables up here to the right height to make sure that it was going to be level in a quick way. So just a few little tips and tricks up here in the Skyjack.
So we're out here, we're doing some track cutting for installing telescapes for Primacoustic, and I just wanted to show you all the little tips and tricks that I kind of came up with as I was doing this project. So number one, 2 tables. The size that these come in are 98 inches. So if you want to put one, you got to cut it on this side. We want to have an elevation here, and if we want to put it on that side, we want to have an elevation over here to hold it up so it's level. This is actually packaging that comes with the boxes, so I just cut it and gaffed it into a little square so that holds that up. The foam underneath also was part of the packaging, so just repurposed that and gaffed it to the table. It really helps keep this from moving around, so it's a little safer to cut on tables like this. Another sweet element is this tape measure. I bought this Milwaukee tape measure. It has all of the measurements in between, so I can see exactly where 7/8 or 3/4 or all the 1/16 of an inch are marked, and all the 1/8 of an inch have an actual number at them. So if I am cutting something on my sheet that says I need it 73 3/4, I can just see it right on the tape measure as I'm holding it up against here. And the way that I would take a piece, I'd cut at the 45, whether if it's inside or outside 45 degree, and I just butt it up against this piece of scrap right there, and then I know where to mark it. Let's say that I'm doing one that's 39 3/4. I got my Sharpie here, 39 3/4. I can just mark that here. And let's say that this is an inside piece of track. Now I need to be able to take this, actually mark it on this side, 38 3/4. And now I need this to be angled in. So I grab my piece of scrap, it says inside, and I butt this up against here, and I mark it. And now,
nice.
When I need to cut it, I know that I can come over here and when I pull it down, the blade lines up really nice with it, and I know that I can cut that exactly where I need it. Some other things are, like when we're doing this mid-wall track, it has to have miters on both sides. So you can use these little scrap pieces to mark if I've got an inside or an outside, or I've got this piece of scrap that I can do either way, however I need to put an angle on there. If I've got 2 pieces of track, one thing that I've kind of figured out, let's say I need to cut two pieces that are the exact same size. Let's say that this is one side of it. This piece is already done, and I need to do another inside cut. So I can take this will be more of an outside cut deal. I can bump this up against here and then do another mark right from there, and it's at the right angle right away. I've been keeping this duster here, so once I've cut a piece, you can see that it's really dusty. So I can just dust it off and then come over to a clean section and mark it. And I always put the, like, let's say that this was a 3-inch piece and I wanted it to be on section 4. So I always mark that so that when we take it inside and wrap it in fabric, we know exactly where it's supposed to go and what size was cut. And then also, as I've been cutting, you can see that there's a gap right here. I'm able to cut stuff and then just swipe it into my bucket. So to get the telescape started, the first thing that we had to do was actually Mitch, our rep, he put together a plan. So we're able to, put tape down and put where we want the telescapes to be. And then on that tape, we write all of the measurements. So each one of these pieces of track has to be individually cut. After it's been measured, we need to make sure that we're accounting for our miters. And so once all of the pieces of tape were up, I recorded all of that data. I actually just voice spoke it into ChatGPT and had it spit out a CSV file that I could import into Google Sheets. And then I marked if that was needing an inside miter or an outside miter and the length of it and what section it was. So each one of these is a section that has dedicated pieces of track. And then we went outside, we cut it, we brought it back in, and then we wrapped it in fabric so that you can see the inside of this is white, but the outside of it has the fabric that matches what's going to be on the front.
That's a time-consuming process too, the
Yes.
wrapping. We had lots of guys working on the wrapping.
Yep. So after it's wrapped, we bring it back over here and we staple it in with a staple gun. We use lasers, like laser measures and levels, and like just making sure it's as straight as can be. Walls are never perfect, so we're compensating as we're going if we're needing to shave a little bit off here or there. So we make sure it all fits, that it's level, we staple it on, and then after that we take this fill material, comes in 2x4 foot sheets, and we cut it to the right size and screw it in with these washers here to make sure that it's held up against the
It's drywall screw and washer. Then there's anchors in there too?
Nope, just drywall screw and anchor. Goes
And
on
washer,
there.
not anchor. Drywall screw and washer.
Yes.
Cool.
No, there's no anchor. Yeah, just drywall screw and washer.
Yep.
We got it. We've been working along. So then that goes up, and then the next step in the process is to take the actual piece of fabric that goes over the front, cut it a little bit long, tuck it in with a little bit of a pizza roller. So we take this device here once the fabric's up, and then we roll it in till it's tight, and then we have our finished product. All right, I'm here at Heatherwood Baptist Church, and we just finished hanging all of these acoustic panels in here as well as on the back wall. And then afterwards, we made sure that our speakers were working properly. So the first thing that we did was a health check on them. We put our measurement microphone in the room and we pointed them at each speaker as close as we could get. And we actually found out that these speakers on this side the polarity was reversed on them, so we needed to fix that, and that made a huge difference. And then the first time that I was here tuning, realized that the delay speakers were not delayed, or the subs, so we fixed that, moved it to a stereo system, and then afterwards we were able to use a program called Smart from Rational Acoustics, and we were able to actually capture the phase response of each box, each sub, combine those, see how they interact with each other, and then make the best decisions on how to make EQ changes to specific boxes, delay changes to specific boxes, to make sure that we put the system in the best possible place. And then afterwards, ran some tracks that I was familiar with and made a couple of adjustments by ear. And we also used not just a measurement microphone, but also an audio interface, and then our computer running smart to do that. But afterwards, being that we did acoustic treatment first and then PA second, I'm feeling really good about this room. These were the existing speakers, and we were just able to make a few adjustments to them. So I was really happy with them, but Donald has been here a long time and probably can give you a better perspective on the difference before and after.
I don't know about better perspective, but certainly every step in the process, right? You mentioned going from mono to stereo. We noticed a huge change right away, going from mono to stereo, and then we came in the room and started hanging up acoustic panels. Then each panel seemed to help the room a little bit more and a little bit more, and certainly going through the smart process of dialing in and tuning the room and finding that the right was out of phase to the left. I mean, every single one of these little incremental changes just helps so dramatically in the overall sound and performance of the room. And it really kind of tied the system together. The whole room works now as a system, the speakers, the amps, the acoustic treatment, it all came together working as one complete system. And we were just missing some of those critical elements that we have now. And so, we're really excited for this Sunday. And we're looking forward to it. Huge shout out and thanks to Churchfront and all the guys there. We couldn't have done it without you. So now, I can't give you the before and the after, but I can tell you from my experience, just that, over the years mixing sound in this room, it has completely and drastically changed the behavior of the room to have these acoustic panels, to spend the time that Adam spent tuning the system, getting the time alignment right, getting the phasing correct, or removing some of the phasing issues that we had, really dialing in how the subs behaved with the rest of the sound, and so that we had that low end established and we had plenty of bass and plenty of low end, but without it being too much. And really just, it was all about balance, getting a good sound, a consistent sound, a reliable sound. And so this past Sunday, we had our first service in here since this kind of phase one has wrapped up. And it was incredible. Everybody commented about how great the sound was. And perhaps the best compliment of all is they wanted to know what we changed. And so you can see these sound clouds on the ceiling. You can't really see the acoustic treatment on the wall back there, but it's there. And it was done in such a way that it really complements the room. And people that have been coming to this church for 15 years or more didn't notice right away that we had actually put stuff in the room, but they noticed right away that the room sounded better. It was quieter, it was more controlled. They said they could hear the pastor speaking maybe for the first time. They didn't have to adjust anything, for those that wear hearing aids, hearing assist modules, and everybody just overwhelmingly had a great experience. So we're looking forward to more of that. We've got other plans. This is really just the beginning. We've got other spaces in the building that we want to work on, and we're excited about where we're going from here. So thanks a lot, Churchfront, and we'll see you again real soon.
All right, that wraps up this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you're going to install similar acoustical solutions at your church, and that's one thing I want to encourage you, is that this is definitely something that you can do, but you can also reach out to us. We'll help you out with the install. We can get you the panels. Just reach out to us at churchfront.com. Like, subscribe. See you later. Bye.